Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Shadowverse. I'm gonna have to try to optimize, oops, sorry about that. I'm gonna have to try and optimize the going through the main story as fast as possible. So I'm not gonna try and meander and talk as much as I have. Let's just jump into Dragspear's story and get it going. Did take a small break between the last recording and this recording, but man, that last recording I could not pay attention, and I'm not sure if it was because of the writing of the main new character, in that she was really not saying anything at all, like even more than like a sense like this will's emotions, purgation is the ruler of will. At least that's a hint at something. But yeah, I'm not sure if it was that, or if it was just the localization of the writing, or if it was the localization of the new female protagonist, leader of the Mage Guild, voice actor. Like, it could have been any of those, but yeah, I was just not paying any attention at all. And not a lot happened or was said either.
Where am I?
Like, in the end, you just had
sort of town below.
Isabel.
This
So
doesn't look familiar.
this is interesting. He was he appeared
world.
like completely
that's
outside
right.
the city.
Where did everyone go? There's no one here.
It would be helpful, certainly, if they did find some people outside of the guilds of the city.
Yes, as long as nothing interferes. Let's
But
go.
we're getting the same flashback, and in that flashback he's not even shown.
But
So they clearly would have done better to not have that flashback just show
You there.
that group of 4
Can I ask
people.
you
They should have
something?
tried to
Are
put
you
the
from this
entire
world?
group of 8
From,
leaders on the same
here,
screen
I mean,
as like a group shot. They could use a group shot.
why are you coming so close to me? Answer my... Does he really not understand what I'm saying? If this is another world, then it's possible.
So this guy just,
Sorry,
I think,
was just lost in
sleepwalks,
thought.
basically.
Ugh. His energy. It doesn't feel human at all.
Well, sorry. You want to fight with me, don't you?
I don't know
Wait, you
still
can
what this
understand
guy is.
What on earth are...
I just woke up, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to take it easy on you.
There's something strange about this man.
I
More
think,
than Urias Formond or even her. If I don't act,
I don't
new
know.
worlds and new foes won't cower me into submission.
I
I've
think
decided
what
that
you would
much.
want to do is respond, no, I don't want to fight you, very quickly. Even if you did want to fight the person, say no, get them off guard, and then stab them in the back when they're not prepared. I do kind of wonder what kind of gameplay style he's gonna have.
I don't know if you'll believe this, but I'm from another world. At least I think that's what's going on.
So then why are you fighting me? There isn't any reason.
It seemed like you were ready for combat. I raised my spear because I thought I'd be in danger if I didn't.
Oh, I see. I give off that vibe sometimes.
Does that mean you didn't intend to fight?
I don't particularly want to fight at all. Sorry if I gave you the wrong idea.
No, I'm the one who caused this.
So
should
I
be the
guess
one
this is
apologizing.
before he bumps into Luna.
Not many people come up here. I was caught off guard. I'm going somewhere else. Well, anyway.
What an odd man. But still, his strength is overwhelming. The weight of his blows leaves Urias in the dust. And on top of that... he manages to channel that inhuman power of his into a precise technique. He's fighting with everything he's got, and yet he's accurate. This really is another world, another dimension. Makes sense that I'd meet someone like that man here. I have to look for everyone else.
I'd like
This
to
world looks
know
like it might be a
that
tricky
guy's
place to navigate.
story,
Those of us with the same goal.
but it's
need
going to be
stick
kind of
together.
hard to get his story, considering he seems
going
to
into
just
town.
sleepwalk
There has to be some
most
sort
of the
information
time.
there. I've
And
only
and there
gotten a
is
taste
this
of this new world,
big
but I have to continue
danger
on.
that you are going to
Natalie, wait for me.
not really have much character development for that guy. And then you have a slightly different story in this one, because he didn't immediately then fight a magical life form, a water life form. And I guess we do now know what that dot means and that area means. And it doesn't mean anything seemingly that important. This almost feels like this would be something you would design for a tabletop game. It'd be an interesting experiment if it was
Might
like
even be wealthier than our own.
the visual novel part of this game
There are canals all over.
happened in between turns of playing the card game, but that'd also be extremely
Eris, it's good to
distracting.
see you're all right.
Like it would have to
It comes as a relief to see
be
you
played
back, for
kind of like as a background, as a
no, you're
play
injured,
field.
aren't you?
This? It's nothing, really.
But all the same,
See, I don't know why they don't just ask to
I
be
beg your
healed more.
pardon. Might those wounds be the result of battling with a rather tall man?
As a matter of fact, they are. Might I ask your name?
he is Marlone Median. We have only just met, but I believe him to be a trustworthy person.
No surprise that
I
she
don't know whether I can be
she
trusted,
got
but my
managed
name is Marlone Meady.
mixed up
It's a
with the
pleasure to meet
Escamoli.
you.
Rowan Dragspear. How did you know what happened to me?
I saw you coming down from that hill, and well, I'm additionally acquainted with a rough character who calls that hill his home. So, in brief, please accept my sincere apologies.
No, if anything, I should be the one saying sorry. If I had gone for my spear, he wouldn't have struck me.
You are a noble soul indeed. Please allow me to express my apologies again. Next time I see him, I'll be sure to chide him. Ah, yes, you two surely have some catching up to do, so I'll excuse myself here. If you have any issues, I should be close by. Well,
Thank you.
Rowan, do you know where the others are?
You're actually the first one I've seen.
I suspected we have been scattered. and
We
it
did
seems
get a
that
bit
was
of a
the case.
different story.
What are you planning to do
Where-
from here on?
It, according to the
I
Blade
intend to
Rights, the
act together with
Escamoli
Marlon.
are kind of like the managers, and
look around
according
this
to the
land
Mage
somewhere.
Guild,
I might be able to find the
they-
others.
they're just
Anyway,
extortionists.
there's a lot I don't understand.
I see. It would be my pleasure to help you in any way necessary.
No thanks. I can handle things alone. I was able to control the dragon's curse during the battle against Nexus, but that was a coincidence. A miracle. If I were to lose control one more time, I could end up hurting everyone else. As long as
Yep.
there's that chance, I'm going to keep whatever distance I can.
Yeah, that's probably the
Especially
smart
toward
move.
Isabel, I could never.
Is that he should
feel this way
be
out of
out
kindness?
in the fields outside the
Cowards.
city,
Very well.
trying to
But
control
Rowan,
and test his power.
perhaps it is arrogant of me, but I hope that the others and that they and I,
Yeah? Well, then I'll gather them and bring them back here to you.
thank you. Please go well.
So if he's gonna
Thanks.
make it his goal
You
to
take care, too.
to bring everybody together,
Our paths have forked once again, but I am sure, I know the others and I will meet again.
yeah. But clearly Rowan didn't actually succeed at any of that. Nor did he seem like he even really tried in the Eris story. He wasn't even there. He wasn't even shown in the Orisa story. Not Eris story. Too many similar names in this game.
Place seems completely different from my kingdom. There's the noise of the crowds mixed with the sound of running water. I can't say I'm used to it, but it's oddly comforting. I can see how a land with this much water would be so advanced. Is that a fountain? I've never seen one that big before.
Oh, are you a traveler?
So he bumps into a blade right.
I'm a member of the Order of Blade Rights, but if you're a traveler, that can't mean much to you, can you? Sorry.
An order? So you've got them here in this land, too?
I bet they're a bit different from what you're imagining. They're not some kingdom's military unit.
Oh, I see.
If you'd like, I can explain more over there. One of our roles as the Order of Blade Rights is to guide travelers.
You seem to be on duty. Are you sure that's okay?
Sure. I'm just here on standby. I can talk until I get my next orders.
That's good to hear.
A lot of not important dialogue happening right now.
Guilds? As in merchants' unions?
No, we use that word for all kinds of people here. Not just for merchants, but for knights and mages too. We call them all guilds. These guilds keep each other in check. They help each other out. Well, once in a while. Anyway, when things are going smooth, the guilds rule over Asunia. We don't have a king or any of that stuff here. So instead of obeying the state, we follow our own sense of justice. Of course, we don't like getting violent. We're a guild of justice, and we honor the good. That's what the Order of Blade Rights is all about.
Oh, so you mean
Yeah,
you're a
there's
guild of
really
justice
just nothing
in
to
a
say
land
here
without
because
a
it's just the backstory that you already
So
know.
strange.
There's no way you're going to have a good experience
Where do you come
here
from?
because you can have. You could get really lucky and play the best story of the 8 leader stories. But
What
unless
is
you
that?
had like a walkthrough telling you to play that specific
what's loose?
story,
We didn't get any
and
orders to
then
hunt, but we've got to do
you
something.
just
Stand
ignore
back.
all the other
Those things will do a
stories,
real number
you're
on
gonna
you.
run into ridiculous
No, I'll join the fray.
repetition,
Two stronger than one.
which
Okay, then. I'll
once
take that
again,
one.
if they just
Ready
merged
when
it
you
all
are.
together as one linear story and it was even the same number of chapters and battles, that would be fine. Particularly considering how after chapter 2 they let you pick whatever deck you wanted to play anyways. So going back into chapter 3 and saying no, you're gonna have to beat
Let's end this.
potentially 10 enemies with the
Looks like things are under control.
Dragoncraft style of gameplay is kind of a pain for people that maybe don't like the Dragoncraft
What order
style
were
of
you from
gameplay.
again? You're a real powerhouse.
Don't get carried away. My skills aren't anything worth bragging about.
What do
And
you mean?
I guess it's worth
I knew you were
mentioning
really something, holding
is
that
that
giant spear with just one hand.
this guy says
Wow.
that the magical entities can do a real number on you,
Zip to
where the
air with
mage says
nothing.
they
I've never
they
seen
just
anything
suck
like
the
that.
life out of you and leave you a little tired
I wasn't lucky enough to have a
and
mentor.
sticky.
I'm just doing things the Royal Army's way. Well, I've probably gotten pretty far away from protocol by now, though.
I wouldn't be surprised
Whoa,
if maybe
you
the
don't
magical
say. You
energies
must have fought some wild opponents until now.
like absorb or
Probably right.
take control of the blade
I
rights.
gotta show you to the other guild members.
Hmm,
You
that
should come
might
to our-
We've been
explain
commanded
some
to assemble.
things.
Back to the barracks.
What? Seriously?
Sorry for getting in your way. I'm gonna take off.
You're not in anyone's way. Our barracks are just a little way away. You should swing by.
All right then.
Oh, but you ought to stay away from the Magis covenants. They're pretty out there. See ya.
Who's he?
He's a powerhouse. No sooner does he start swinging that spear of his than...
So
What a helpful
yeah,
person.
not surprising that he would
Order of
also
Blade Rights.
like the blade rights.
Guilds.
But
said that there was a mages guild. There's a chance she could be there. No, not yet. I should look around anyhow. Maybe I can find some clues about where everyone is.
But see, it would also
some more
make
about
more
this world.
sense if you had maybe started the story where both Arissa and Rowan were found by Blade Rights, within 1 or 2 chapters were brought to the Blade Rights Guild Hall, then their stories merge, and then you don't have to have that repeated text. Or at least they could merge and then they could split again, and they could merge and they could split again. This guy could be could follow one of the apprentices, where Arissa follows the under marshal, or this guy could have fought the big monster creature, which, come to think of it, we haven't seen any other monster creature, so I don't know how that one gets explained at all. But yeah, there are, in most stories, 1 or 2 people that could have been important secondary characters that could have led around to important leader characters. Or, you know, you just eliminate the leader characters completely and have the story just not include them at all, and then all these leaders could kind of show up later, or they could appear inside the bodies of other people
That's all I can tell you.
That's more than enough. Thank you.
as kind of like observers or spies,
If you need anything else, just holler.
or observing from like
This isn't
a
getting me any closer to the others.
magical
Hope
perspective.
everyone's okay. All the information I got was about this land. Well, I suppose that works in its own way.
Yeah, because it's just
A land governed by 5 guilds.
it's really just the
It feels unnatural to have 5 in the place of a king or
basic starting
queen.
of
Looks like the
almost
people are
any
enjoying
anime
life, so
tale,
maybe there's something to it.
or particularly in the isekai tale, where it's set in a different world, is that each of the main leaders has to go through this whole journey of discovery so that the viewer can
No problem.
understand how the world works and what's going on.
Yeah.
Whereas I think for a card game, they would
And that other guy.
I would want to jump into the action
The
faster.
other guy?
Nicola's really big and strong. And the other guy was strong too. But he disappeared.
Oh yeah? Where are your parents?
Somewhere. They're not here now though. I'm lost.
You're lost. Oh no.
So this girl
Lost, but
obviously
it's fine.
looks
I know all about this place.
looks a lot like his
That
daughter,
street
or at
goes
least
to
close
the
enough.
plaza, and if you climb up that wall, Escamoli's there. And that's the way to the Order of Blade Rights.
Oh, I see. She seems to have a great sense of the terrain. It might be worth asking where everyone's gone. Do you have a second? I'm actually on a
He's
search right now.
just shifted downward to
So,
imply
how
that he
about it?
bent down,
Do you know anything?
or he's on his knees.
I don't know, but I think I saw Urias.
Really?
Yeah, he was really big and had fancy clothes and a beard and a mustache. He just saved me.
Saved you?
So
Is he capable of that sort of thing? It sounds pretty far-fetched.
it would
Could
be
you tell
funny
me
if
where
this
he was?
turned out to be Nerva.
Sure, over that way.
Thanks. That's a
And,
real help.
and I'd say her voice acting is
It's not
kind of
safe for kids
fine,
to wander around alone.
assuming
We
we're
should
only
really track
going to
down
hear her for this one chapter.
I've been looking for you all over. Get yourself home this instant.
Looks like there won't be any need for that.
I'm so sorry. I hope this little lady hasn't driven you up the wall.
So yeah,
No, not at all. If anything, she's
it would be
been
funny if
helping
she
me
was
out.
Nerva, but
I
I
hope you
wouldn't
go
want to
with
hear her voice for much longer
She
than
doesn't have
we did hear it.
anything to worry about. Come on now, let's get going.
Bye bye. See you later.
Now we kind of know that the reason why we're seeing the same three townsfolk probably is just because they didn't have enough budget to animate more townsfolk. But at a certain point, it kind of makes you wonder how many people are actually in this city at all. I guess it is also worth mentioning that in the first two chapters, even though the entire world was attacked by shades, you really only saw maybe a dozen people. This overworld map almost makes me like want to see it play out more just like a tabletop game, where there would just be like 3D model tokens of each of the leaders, and they would just like get like magically float up and then move to the next dot, and then it just moves to a fight.
Huh? Oh, it's you from earlier.
Did something happen? You're looking pretty rough.
This crazy mountain of a man came looking for a fight. I thought I'd knock him clean out, but, well, it ended in a draw. So, everything's fine.
For you to talk about someone like that, he'd have to be...
Urias Formond is what he called himself.
Is that right? It's just like that girl said. He's around
And
here somewhere.
Urias is a weird
So, you, him,
situation because
Luna came from another world?
What gives you that idea?
he doesn't know that Luna at all. He doesn't know that
Pitiable little thing.
he met
Urias
Luna.
Formond seems to have issues of his own. We all seem sort of similar. Am I wrong?
So I seem like I'm in a lot of pain, huh? You
Interesting.
might be right there. I always feel like I should keep my distance from people, even the ones I call comrades.
So,
I said that I'd
in a
search
weird
for
way, it seems like all the people in this
somewhere in
land
my
are
heart, I'm still afraid.
not.
Afraid that
They
when I
they
meet
like
everyone
don't
again,
suffer, or
I'll go wild.
they don't care about things in general.
Isn't it? Your own power is making you suffer. You're just like Luna.
How could you tell?
Something tipped me off.
It's surprising after seeing this guy not talk so much that he can
Must
talk
really
this
seem
much.
like I'm suffering during battle.
What's
Yeah,
your name?
Arias is a problem though
Nicola
because
Adele.
you kind of have to
Rowan.
have
Rowan
him
drags
fight
me.
people and then end in a
Rowan.
draw with people,
Huh.
because if he finds anybody that's
Your power
actually
doesn't seem to
strong
be
enough
causing you any pain.
to be
It's
his
like you're in
equal
perfect control.
and give him the fight that he's looking for, he'll probably try to spend all of eternity fighting that person over and
I don't
over
like
again
suffering.
My power is different, though.
until
It's not
Urias
It's a curse in the real sense of the
has
word.
some character development and
So it's
isn't just
spell.
looking for a
I don't think that changes too much, though.
worthy opponent.
What do I do then?
It's hard to put into words. This should be the fastest way to show you. Do you mind?
No, not at all.
Last time, our fight got a little intense. I'm not sure if this will make things better or worse. Still, sorry about that.
No, it was my fault. I'm going to take away all the knowledge I can from this fight.
Maybe this guy has some kind of like magical creature merged with him too. It doesn't seem like he is
The way you fight, you must really be
releasing the dragon.
only natural to suffer when you won't let yourself be who you really are.
It's like there's another Rowan inside of me. I managed to control myself once, but I don't know whether I'll be able to do it again.
Yeah? Well, if that's how it is,
An irony would be if he does,
quit
if
holding it all
he
in.
did just turn
Burst
into a
it up
dragon
just a
and
little
then
bit.
destroy all of the brand new world he was in.
A little more, and then a little more. Don't force yourself to hold back. And then
This is basically the same story that Urias was saying.
you stop.
You just suddenly stop in the heat of the action.
It's because you hold everything in that you suffer. Think release and control.
Release and control.
It's not easy, and I can't do it perfectly either. When I'm sleepy, it's easy to get sloppy, but this should make things better than they are now.
So it seems like
Don't
he is
hold
just
everything in. Release just enough.
he is
That
just
won't be
like
easy.
brimming with
If I
energy.
could control the full power of this curse, I'd be so much more. Thank you. Thanks to you.
Sorry about that. You alright?
If they were gonna have
think
him
I'm
fall
out.
to his knees, they should have
No,
animated
I feel like I might have gotten the hang
that,
of it.
particularly when
Thanks to you.
you see that now the spear is just not animated at all.
You really helped me.
Nah, it's nothing. I might have given you an earful, but, well, anyway, I hope things go well for you.
So I wonder what Luna's doing at this point. If she's no longer following him. You do have that point where Luna is the child of the group, so she could have that childlike wonder
I don't have the right.
and
I don't have the right
desire
stand
to
in
learn
front of
about new worlds more than the other characters.
Then I'm sure it's true.
So yeah, you
I'm sorry.
could easily merge these 8 stories together and follow Luna and Arissa way more often, because they would have the desire to learn way more than
You've
I think
always lived by
Rowan
that
or
creed, haven't you? It's your reason for
or
living.
Urias.
Protecting you and Natalie. Protecting the crown. I always considered those my missions.
And now they've fallen apart, haven't they?
Now he's
Why are
having
you
a
so lost? Why
having a
don't you know
dream
what to do?
talking to his wife.
Go ahead and laugh. I know how pathetic I am. My family, the crown, and my friends. All of it.
No, I don't care what anyone else in the world thinks about you. I don't think that you're pathetic. If you can't be a shield right now, then you don't need to protect anyone. Not me, not Natalie, and not the crown. You've always done
See, this almost
everything
feels
you
like
could
this is a
more than anyone else.
actual
You've been there
conversation
on
he's
the front
remembering.
lines, and more than anyone else, you've gotten injured. So it's fine. It's fine.
So
for you to feel lost.
interesting to have a flashback that isn't just a
That said,
flashback to a story that's
There's
already
one
been
person
shown.
You have to remember to protect. And that's yourself, Rowan. Protect yourself from the sadness and the pain. Someday you're going to come home. There's no question about that. So until that day, protect yourself. Don't let the sadness and the pain beat you. For your own sake.
It might
Go on
be
with
slightly
it.
interesting if
That's what I need
the
to
main
ask.
leaders at some point do make it back to the original world, but a massive
That
amount
dream
of
really
time
takes
has
me back.
passed since then.
Ever since that day,
That would affect
I've been lost
a
and alone.
lot of the characters. Maybe not Urias, but
You are here as well, I see.
everybody else. If the princess had grown old and
You are
died,
strong
and
enough,
and
but
it
it is
is now
been
like
torn apart.
3 or 4
Who did
generations
this to
since
you?
the princess's time,
Nicola Adele.
that definitely would affect a lot of people.
That man.
And
What a remarkable character.
if
His
Rowan's
work is
family
evident in your
had
present
long since
condition.
grown up and
He's just
aged,
the same as ever.
that
Wild,
would be
stupid,
interesting.
and apparently not interested
Although
in
maybe you don't go
anything
3 or
other
4
than fighting.
generations, maybe you just go like
Regardless, you
10
wanna fight with
years.
me?
So a 9-year-old is now a rebellious 19-year-old child who
That's
hasn't
just
had
the
a
sort of
father in
beast you
her
are,
life
isn't it?
and resents him for that.
What enjoyment can be found in chasing after injured prey? I have no interest in such plebeian pursuits.
I assumed he'd just be recklessly throwing punches, but here he is talking logically. He's really in control of himself.
But still, you are now able to control your draconic power, but yet you simply stifle it. What point is there in this?
You're telling me to use it?
Of course. What point can there be
Yep.
in unused
This is
power?
once again another pointless. Let's
I know
just
that
have
much.
2 characters
Nothing
fight
will come from
without much of a
That's
reason.
why
This is not bad. Unrefined,
but there is a sense of hunger. We must
Honestly, it really should just be like a tournament arc. That would make a lot more sense. Particularly, it might work fairly better here if you had the fight first and then the talk. That way, you could, if you hit skip right about now, it would just go back to the main menu, and then the next chapter, you would start the fight immediately. You would also be ending kind of on a cliffhanger for each chapter, which might speed some things up too, because there is kind of just this speed bump if you were just trying to play the game and have more of an interactive experience, where you have to have just a ton of text.
Is that something I can do? No. I decided I wouldn't let fear get the better of me.
And in general, I just am in a different mentality when I'm sitting in front of a computer with a mouse in my hand. I'm ready to do something interactive, whereas if this was a nicely animated, well-voiced anime, I would be at that point doing something passive. Now, I don't watch a lot of anime these days, so maybe I would never actually sit through this story, but at least then I'd know what I wanted. Where right now I'm kind of not getting what I want, because I like to play the game, but I don't have enough time to play the game. I'm playing like hours and hours off screen to do daily quests and limited time crossover event quests at the moment with Code Geass.
Who's there?
We haven't so far seen anybody else seem to be brainwashed by anybody.
The false sun shall not rise.
There. Here we go.
Did you just kill him? You're wearing the armor of the Order of Blade Rights. Why would you do something like that? He wasn't resisting you in the...
So who's really controlling these guys?
Wait! I don't understand. I don't understand, but my gut's telling me something. I can't let an opponent run from before my eyes. Answer my question. Why would you do something like that?
And they seem not to talk. And they seem to be magically controlled.
Guess you don't feel like talking. But if that's what you want, I'll do you in.
But it does seem like pretty much any of the people could be magically controlled by any other group, really. So this could be controlled magically by the water creatures, it could be done directly by the Mage Guild, it could be done by the Escamaldi. I wouldn't even put it past Leod, the leader of the assassins, to use his sword and magic to potentially challenge and control these people. Or these could just be directly being controlled by Nerva, which would also make sense.
That should be enough for you. Now start answering.
It is an interesting idea. Instead of having shades that transform into characters, you instead just have creatures that, or magic that can let you reskin already existing characters with just putting a blue magical effect over them.
This feels all wrong. They don't argue and they don't even respond. Damn it. I misjudged this one. I should have anticipated reinforcements when I acted. I have to use it.
It's just a lot of talking going on.
Against Nicola Adele haven't healed yet. But if I go easy on these guys, I'm gonna get killed. I'll give it everything I've got.
It kind of feels like in this chapter they got feedback that some of the previous sub-chapters, subsections, had really just one line of sentence and then they got into a fight, and they've now potentially overcompensated by having like 6 to a dozen lines of text. See, yeah, if right now this jumped into the fight right now and there was no talking, that'd be great. But instead it's text and then a fight, then more text. So they're just doubling up on it.
They're strong. Even stronger than he was then.
And inherently, this is a problem with a lot of low-effort visual novel games, is that they're just using text as a way of stretching the gameplay length and make a game feel like it's a lot longer than it really is, in comparison to an action game where there's very little story or text.
Don't be afraid. Use it. I said I'd do this for my family.
I'd almost prefer in the main story a kind of rock, paper, scissors version of the game where it would just show you like 3 cards and you have to pick the right card to play, and then the story moves forward. And that way, if you mess up too much, you can only have 3 mistakes, really.
That's what I need to ask you.
And you could fairly easily pre-program puzzles where they just show you 3 cards and then you just click on the right one for that specific situation.
Those two weren't using their power for anyone else, just themselves. That means I have to do the same. It's not about using it for others. That wouldn't be enough.
I'm not sure I fully agree with this message.
Know what you meant then. I turned my back to you without saying a word.
But I guess it's a moral failing to be overly selfless or overly like protective of other people.
That's a weak motive, a brittle motive. If I don't choose a path of my own, I'll break someday. That's what you said to me. You said I should live for myself, that I should get stronger. This isn't for my family. It's not for everyone else. It's for me. I'll use my own power for my own ends. This one's to protect the way I live.
On the other hand, this does kind of feel like you once again are potentially getting the leaders are potentially getting manipulated by Nerva to fall into bad habits, either old bad habits or new bad habits. And this might really just be a case of a localization translation issue, but from a Western perspective, like he kind of is going under a kind of dangerous path where he's saying, I'm just gonna fight for my own ends regardless, and my might is gonna always make right, would be the implication that I think he's adding to that.
The power's flowing through me, but my head's sharp and my mind is clear. Did I do it? Rachel, you gave me guidance. I didn't understand, but the whole time you were... Thank you.
We're still not sure if those are flashbacks or if they're just dreams or hallucinations.
No shame.
It'd be kind of funny if the dreams and the flashbacks were all Nerva.
There's something else I have to do besides apologize. Isabel, the crime I committed is serious. So serious that I hesitate to think about it. That's why I'm going to show you this power before anyone else. That has to be the first step. Can I walk the path of forgiveness? Can I walk down the endless road of atonement? That I don't know. But it's better than not walking down that path at all.
This line of this group of dialogue's pretty good, but the journey to get to it is still really, it's still really low tier. All of the story in this game really feels like it's teetering between a 3 out of 10 in writing, if to give a general rating, or maybe a 4 out of 10. Nothing seems like it gets above a 5.
It's almost as if I've been torn into with piercing claws.
And a lot of that is because there wasn't enough character development or like slow burn of actions. The need to just cram in fights in every single chapter just gets in the way of that every time.
Going on what I heard, it should be around here.
And I would say the same is probably true for Yu-Gi-Oh! If you think about like Yugi and his friends, while they say they're great friends in the anime, they really don't have a ton of experience in which they get together and have friendly activities besides playing the card game. And whenever you play the card game in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's usually Yugi that's playing, and he's usually far away from the rest of the group, and then the rest of the group is just cheering him on as cheerleaders.
Isabel interests me. Her enemy is accordingly my enemy. Don't attempt anything, or I will squash you.
You got here in one piece too, I see.
Yeah. I heard that you were in the Mages Guild and came here.
Do you still want me to kill you?
No. This isn't for her. It's for me.
On the other hand, in kind of contrast to Yu-Gi-Oh!, you have something like Cardcaptor Sakura, which, while there are cards that you collect that they collect in that anime, there's a decent amount of episodes in Cardcaptor Sakura where it is all about characterization and dealing with the people in the show, and very often the cards themselves are just secondary to that.
You're right about that.
Make me believe you, Rowan.
So I could see a concept here where at the very beginning of the game, of the main story, each of these leaders got some kind of magical ability where they could absorb or copy the energy of actual characters to make new cards, and that's how they collected cards, and they were kind of using the cards as a way to fight in a few occasions. But a lot of times you could just have a chapter where you have somebody like the what is that? There's a thief card that I've seen played. It's like a 2-mana card, and it gives you one of 2 items. So if one chapter had you chasing this thief character, and when you catch up with them, there's some story and some realization why they're a thief, and that they were working for a certain group. At that point, you might fight the thief character and then get that card, and then that ties in the card game way more into the main story, with also the easy ability of it being kind of a monster of a week type story, whereas this is a lot of just fighting the same people over and over again. So when we get up to the main episode 12, like, how many different times at that point will we have fought, will Rowan have actually fought Isabel, and how much power creep will have happened by the time we're at episode 12? Will these guys be 5-6 times more powerful than they are now?
right.
No matter what happens to you, the facts won't change. The past won't change. Remember that.
I feel like Isabel should probably sound a little bit sadder,
Kyle,
at least
you
when
and
she's
for
talking
myself,
to Rowan.
no matter what. I don't feel any better. If anything, I can feel the violence pulsing within. This is only the beginning.
And
I have
this
to
is a
press
different story. He is just wandering around
Who are you?
by his own.
Answer this. Which side are you on?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Is it the true moon or the false sun? It's time to make your choice.
He doesn't know anything about any of that. Yep. I guess the real response to that would be, which side are you on?
You. Who are you with?
We are the ones sunken into the dark. We are Counter Solari.
Counter Solari. One of the guilds of Isunia.
Again, I don't
The false
think
sun is
anybody
fanning
told him
the
about
flames of
Counter
war in
Solari.
this land. You must therefore decide. Are you friend or are you foe?
I've heard what sort of organization you are. You're dangerous people, ones who kill for a living.
Yeah, it really feels like somebody needed
That
to
is
talk to
false.
him more.
Could be. I'm an outsider in this world, and I might not be making the right decision. But if there's
Like,
one thing
you
I
should have
understand,
somebody leading him and talking to him more
it's that you're
if
pointing
he's
your
gonna have
blade
to
right
make
at
this decision or have these kind of encounters.
I might choose whether I'm your enemy or I'm your ally, but I'm not going to be forced to choose. When the time comes, I'll make that decision of my own accord. Are you going to stand down, Counter Solari?
Enough of your words. Powers that oppose us shall be eliminated.
Yeah,
Alright,
the Counter
I'm
Solari
going to wield my power to see
still
my path through.
very much feel like they're depicted as the bad guys, even when they're trying not to be depicted as the bad guys. And it kind of clearly
enough for
needs
you.
to be
Now get
a
out of
bad guy group.
I am at a dead end. There can no longer be any retreat.
Oh. This is bad. My strength's not going to hold out.
You're mine. What?
Ha!
That's an interesting sound.
This is it. Ah!
So it seems like he did actually kill a Counter
I
Solari.
was lucky. I was just about to be cut down. But that sound, it was like something being blown to pieces.
Yeah, and that could only be Luna or Urias or Yuan,
I can sense it. The same air, the same scent I've
which it
breathed
also feels
hundreds of
like
times before.
Yuan should be
There's a
playing
war on the
more of a
horizon.
role here.
That's
Yeah, I feel like the easiest thing to do here would have been have everybody teleported to this
something's happening.
world,
Something enormous.
and then Yuan would either know about this world or everybody would be in one group getting the same sales pitch and the same bit of information, at least for a while, and then maybe you split up
Now
for
I can
a single
answer.
chapter here
I
and
can
there
tell them I feel the
instead
same
of
way.
having
So I'm going to
potentially
carve out a path to be
10
with everyone
chapters
else.
of
There are things that I need to
extremely
protect,
similar
that I
but
have to
slightly
protect.
different stories.
So don't underestimate me just because I'm wounded.
Because what they really feel like they're doing here is just massively dropping the ball on the one thing that this main story should be attempting to do, which would be, and yeah, this was a particularly short story also. I wasn't moving that efficiently, but we are a good 10 minutes quicker than before.
Though
Yeah.
their flesh may be near, their hearts are distant.
Yeah,
The sun and moon
it's
never
really
align,
failing
but
to
simply
do the
vie
one
for
thing that
same
needed to
throne.
happen, which was to have
Fate is like
us
the water that flows.
have more character
Human
development
wills are
and
like
learn
tree
to
leaves at the
love,
mercy of the
more
wind,
importantly, each of the
fluttering
leader
between hope
characters.
and despair.
Like, I really don't have
A
any
power beyond
increased
human
reason
understanding casts fate into
why I would
disarray,
want
and
to
accursed fortunes manifest.
play as Dragspear after
Thus
this
came the
story,
time
and I
of
don't
war.
really like him any more than I did
Blood and
before.
flame,
He did have
smoke
a
and
small bit
rubble,
of character
life
development,
upon
but
life.
really it was
What
just
do the
a
guided
power
ones
creep
see beyond a
in
heartless war?
his appearance more than anything. Where if instead you just had him, and like, again, I wouldn't want to hear that little girl's voice probably for the entire episode, but maybe you could find somebody, a voice actor who could do a child voice that isn't super annoying, and then if he was with her the whole time and he was protecting her the whole time, like a father, and just helping her like find her parents, and then maybe at the end you find a twist that the Counter Solari have killed their parents, and that would be the inspiration he would get after spending all of that time with her. That would be something. I mean, that would work a lot better actually, because then the little girl could act as Rowan's guide and tell him about everything, and you can kind of see that they thought about doing that for a while. But also I would say that they have this desire to introduce the Mages Guild and the Counter Solari and the Blade Rights, and that is just in direct conflict with the desire to simply have the story expand on these main characters. And so how do you fix that? But you tell a story where Orisa isn't the main character. Instead, you just have a different like skin here. It would cost him a little bit in animation, but yeah, if for Forestcraft, instead of playing as Orisa, you were playing as a different character, and same for Erica. Erica would be replaced with Leo Black. Isabel would be replaced with the mage girl, obviously. Rowan, I don't know who you'd replace him with. Luna, you'd replace with the strong guy. And Urias, I don't know who you'd replace him with either. And gameplay wise, actually that wouldn't be a terrible idea, because there is certainly some gameplay systems that aren't really well covered. The fact that Portalcraft, which I think was added probably later than this story happened, also, it still feels like it was added like later. But his resonance feature for Portalcraft means activates when you have an even number of cards. It'd be fairly easy in this chapter to have somebody who was doing like alternate Portalcraft, where it was odd cards. Havencraft's ability is mostly spells, where I feel like Havencraft should be healing. Bloodcraft is hurting yourself, where you could easily have a Bloodcraft concept where it's more about activating your skill by draining life of other characters. Shadowcraft is the necromancy ability, where you could also have like a Last Rites or style gameplay. And then Dragoncraft, its ability could be rewritten for a bunch of small dragons. So if you played like 8 small dragons, you activate that hero's ability. Isabel's Runecraft, Alchemycraft is all about playing spells too, which makes her not too different from the Havencraft. But you could have her play, instead of spells, you could have her play cards that, creatures that have magical abilities as a focus. Swordcraft is just about general sword fighting characters, but you could balance that out by having her play really big soldiers instead of generally Swordcraft focusing around playing smaller soldiers and buffing them up. Or you could have her play with anti-buffs where it lowers the attack of the opponent, and that activates an ability. And then Forestcraft is all about playing fairies. It would be fairly easy to counter that by having an ability that's activated when you played, say, a lot of bigger characters again. And so then you could have alternate characters with alternate play styles, and then you could double potentially the hero abilities, which would add more to the collectible card game element of it. And then we could just get a different story, really, and probably have the exact same amount of character development for most of the main leader characters. Let's see, let's go over to the shop and celebrate this. Because it seems like Shadowcraft is fairly generous as far as daily logins, giving you tickets to buy packs, and doing daily quests, giving you enough gold to potentially save up for the next expansion to buy packs. I am going to be able to go fairly longer than I thought I was going to opening these packs. We probably are at a point now where I would like to just double check and see how many cards I have, really. And see, the temporary card system is a very interesting card system idea, using temporary gems to get cards that can't be turned into vials, which really just means you can have a lot more cards than you're likely to have if you're a free-to-player person, until there's a rotation that happens, and then whenever that rotation happens, then you suffer on the back end by not being able to potentially turn the old cards into vials, which most collectible card game players, I would imagine, don't do that. I think I did that on Hearthstone once, where I just dusted a bunch of cards that were in Wild to try and get a new, newer collection of rotation style cards. And that was definitely not a mathematically smart thing to do, but it did help make my secondary accounts in Hearthstone, which were for the other servers. Thank goodness Shadowverse has only one server. Did make them work fairly better, because those accounts were 2 or 3 years later than my original account, so they had considerably fewer cards. So we got a Steel/Tiger. I think this is new. Fanfare, gain X+0. X equals the number of allied artifacts with different names destroyed this match. So that would work in an artifact deck. I did make a couple of decks, so I did stick my toe into deck building, but I'm still not really there where I have the cards and know what I'm doing. Also, it's a little weird that the music cut out, because this is like the only place where the music does cut out. You summon 2 Dragon's Nest. If you have 10 play point orbs, summon 5 instead. Dragon's Nests, if we look at this, are artifacts at the start of your turn. Restore 2 defense to your leader. Draw a card and destroy this amulet if Overflow is active for you. And it's a Dragoncraft class card, which means, yeah, you could only play this. One of the current Code Geass crossover quests required you to beat the expert tier character, or the mid tier character, without using any spells. So I was building decks that weren't using spells, and since Shadowverse seems to be a fairly complex game, more complex than it actually seems at first look. Eliminating spells is kind of insane because you only have minions, creatures, artifacts, and spells. Those three things: creatures, artifacts, and spells. That's it. So if you don't have some artifacts in your deck, you're probably not playing right, or you just don't have a lot of cards. If you don't have spells in your deck, you're probably not playing right. And it's very, very unlikely that you're going to be able to use your 2 or 3 evolves and a deck full of just powerhouse creatures to win. The tit for tat you see when we actually do play the game kind of makes that fairly obvious. They are very balanced creatures. We're not seeing anything that tends to, by default, have 20 attack and 20 health. If there is something that gets up that high, it's probably a 10 mana card that has several elements and things that have to be played upon it, and conditions that have to be satisfied before it can get to that point. You can also see that in the fact that the games actually work with only 20 in life, where if they started putting power creep in this, we'd start to see cards go up in attack, go up in defense, to the point where 20 life games might become 30 life games, and 40 card decks might become 50 card decks. From what I've heard, actually Shadowverse was made in kind of direct complaints against some of the things that were done by Hearthstone. So they are standing on the shoulders of a giant, which was standing on the shoulder of another giant, and the fact that Hearthstone was reacting to a lot of the problems with Magic the Gathering. So if I was smarter, I would have played Magic the Gathering Arena if it was out at the time, then played Hearthstone, then played this game. If I knew that's how things were going to turn out. Here we have Arcane Auteur. Put an insight into your hand. Here we have another Coffin of the Unknown Soul. Burial Rite, draw a card, add X to the image countdown. X equals half the original cost of the follower destroyed by Burial Rite, rounded down. Last word, summon a copy of the follower destroyed by Burial Rite. I'm not sure if Burial Rite triggers last word effects of characters that you bury. Says if you have a follower in your hand in an open space in your area, remove its effects except those that change its attack or defense, and then put it into play. Then destroy the follower to activate Burial Rite's effects. So yes, Burial Rite does not trigger last words effects. So yeah, there's no kind of synergy there, which is probably better. And then we have another Robotic Engineer that puts a Paradigm Shift in your hand, which Paradigm Shift is the 7 mana spell that then gives you either this card, the Barrier Artifact with Bane and Ward, the Knee Edge Artifact with Rush and Drain, or the Airstrike Artifact with Storm and Last Wards deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. Here we have Sudden Showers, which destroys a random follower for 2 mana as a neutral card. This is probably a pretty good card, but it's not even like rarity wise high at all. The next thing I would really like to see in a collectible card game is either to be able to zoom into the art completely, or just download the art simply from the interface, and so you can make it like a background, particularly for like cell phone backgrounds. That'd be cool. There is the cell phone game I play, the gacha game Destiny Child, that there is a mod app called Mammon's Might, Mammons, Mammon being one of the characters from the game, that does, if you can figure it out because it's mostly in Japanese, it allows you to unpack and kind of just get into the game files, and then you can modify the files to make your own animated GIF style background, since it uses the live 2D effect. I'd like to see that just built into all games, because let's face it, nobody important is really going to steal this art and try to use it in their own game without being caught. And the average consumer or player of your game isn't going to buy like a wall scroll or an art print of this art. At any point, I could press the print screen on Windows, and that will just make a screenshot, and I can go into MS Paint, and then I could trim out this and make that image. So there's no way of stopping somebody from getting an image if they wanted it. So it's easier to just satisfy the customer and have them have these elements built in by default. Plus, unlike Magic the Gathering, it's not like you're going to sell boxes and play fields and other bits of physical goods that would use this art, since it's a digital only game. Here we have Lumbering Caprice. If at least 2 other cards were played this turn, gain +2/+2. If at least 4, gain +2/+2 more in ward. I don't think we actually saw what this did. Deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. Burial Rite, draw a card. The problem with Burial Rite in particular is you have to do it. It doesn't seem like you have the option to say no. Okay. Well, with it being stretched out here, we still only went an hour and 6 minutes. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.